Thanks for staying with us here on TVC Breakfast. It's now time for us to look at what the papers are reporting this Monday morning. The Nation newspaper joins in on the brouhaha in the Nigerian economic milieu. I'll talk about the federal government intervenes in Dangote, Pengasson row. Oil workers unions strike call condemnable, says Dangote refinery. Leadership newspaper, government steps in to resolve oil union Dangote refinery row. Labour minister facilitates meeting between parties today. Fears of electricity shortages rise as oil workers doubt tools today. This Nigeria, Pengasson versus Dangote, tension rises. Fear of fuel scarcity looms. No going back on strikes as oil union. Dangote, Pengasson deploying guerrilla tactics to hold Nigerians hostage. Labour minister sues for peace. Summons meeting again. Abuja Inquirer says Dangote refinery versus Pengasson. Fears over fuel supply pricing. Federal government moves to avert supply crisis. And then marketers fear fuel price hike as Pengasson strike begins. Moving on to the Guardian newspaper, still on the threat to strike. Nigeria risks 14.7 billion naira daily loss. Fuel crisis as Dangote Pengasson rift deepens. And the Hope newspaper is talking about Nigeria as a whole. Nigeria at 65. Tinubu Rekindling. Hope, say Eminent Nigerians. Next is the Daily Times. Federal government urges Pengasson to shelve strike, resolve field with Dangote. So many interesting things, happen here. But the Daily Times will be looking at the investment scam, which are allegations of genocide against Christians falls, divisive, and then SEC raises the alarm over AI-generated investment scams. I guess that's what we'll be focusing on this Nigeria. And the last but not least is the Sport and Live. Lawrence Iwobi is underrated, says Nigerian, one of the best in EPL. It's good to always know that Nigeria, or Nigerians generally, we always make a very good name for ourselves. But let's start off with the row, the hulabalu, regarding the rifts or the row between Pengasson and Dangote. If you look at the Nation newspaper, the next paper, which also talks about the same thing, Leadership newspaper, This Nigeria, Abuja Inquirer, Punch newspaper, the Guardian newspaper, etc. They're looking at the fact that Pengasson and Dangote have been at loggerheads. They've been at each other's throats. Pengasson saying that Dangote is sabotaging the economy. Dangote is also saying Pengasson is sabotaging the economy, calling them terrorists.
Pengasson cited Section 40 of the Nigerian Constitution in backing of their argument, and some of the charters that Nigeria has signed with ILO. Sacking 800 people in one day. That is a heavy stick by all parameters. It's such a very heavy stick, and it is obvious that you sacked these people because they went and signed up as members of Pengasson. And the funny thing is that did Dangote have these foreigners that he replaced? Did he keep them somewhere? Because the switch was within 24 hours.
And as a matter of fact, they said there are 2,000 of them.
2,000 of them. He did it within 24 hours. When you look at this story, there are areas where you blame Dangote 100%, and there are areas where you blame Pengasson 100%. Where I want to blame Pengasson 100% is the order to shut down gas and water supply to Dangote. And in the process of doing that, we're going to have problems with our Gencos supplying us light. We are going to have queues on our filling stations. Dangote has also announced that their dollar to naira, whatever, they have stopped it, and that is going to affect the price of PMS at the filling station pump negatively. So we might start looking at a situation where we'll be buying a liter of oil for over 1,000 naira. No matter how you look at it, this quarrel will affect Nigerians and it will affect Nigeria. negatively.
That's right.
So the federal government stepping in to try and see if they can settle it is a very good move that I think is coming a little late. When the quarrel started, that's when the federal government would have stepped in immediately because, I mean, we're talking oil. This is the biggest resource in Nigeria.
That's right. So, and then if you look at Pengerson, they will say that they contribute 80 to 90% of imports and revenue generation to the Nigeria's GDP, and that they are behind the numbers when we talk about GDP.
Yeah.
But the problem there is, they're saying, according to Etoma, his fear, or our fear is that that will lead to the increment in price of fuel. But they're saying that no, that's not the case, that they still have 30 days of supply in reserve. So anything happens afterward, then we should blame Dangote.
So we saw Dangote Nupeng, now Dangote Pengerson. It's just really sad that one man, a lot of this is happening. Now, if you look at the 1999 Constitution amended, you look at section 34, it says dignity of labor. It's actually wrong for you to allegedly sack 800 people in a day, and now you are bringing Indians. For me now, I'm afraid about Nigerian workers. Is it that they do not have security? Is it that this constitution that was written is not, they don't follow it? That is my fear. And now you're bringing foreign people. Where is the we are Nigerians? Where is the put Nigerians first? How would you sack 800 Nigerians and then bring in, you said 2,000 or almost 2,000 foreigners? At Indians. At the end of the day, what are we trying to gain by that? It's really sad that this is happening, and I think that the whole of Dangote crew should look into this holistically and have a conclusion, because at the end of the day, this is happening. I was coming to work today and I saw a lot of people saying that they're afraid there's going to be queue for the fuel station. It affects Nigerians. This is their fight. I don't know if it's a power toss or whatever it is. They need to understand that Nigerians are going to suffer from this fight. First, it was Nupeng, federal government stepped in. Now we're asking the federal government to step into this as well. I hope they step in and just come to a conclusion. But I'm also hoping that from Dangote, we stop hearing things like this. You are a man that told us that you put Nigeria first. Let's see you put in Nigeria first, because now I'm confused. You are bringing Indians when we are in Nigeria. This is not India. This is Nigeria.
Yeah, Olamide, if you look, you want to say something.
Yes, I want to look at the business side of this, because I think some of the decisions Dangote is taking has to do with the business side of it. That refinery was established using loans, using investors' monies and things like that. And now he's operating, he's thinking of paying back. So anything that will slow him down, he wants to cut off very fast.
But thinking of paying back at the detriment of Nigerians.
Okay, but the thing there is, Dangote owns his business. It decides what goes on in his business. Pengerson is saying that your staff, they have the right to join the union. Yeah. But if you look at Section 40 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, it is not, no one should be mandated to join a union. Find the lower cadre of Pengerson or any workers, they can automatically be seen as a member of union. Those that are the senior staff, they have to apply to be a member. So saying that they must join that union, is it not going, contrary to their own provisions?
It definitely goes against it, and indeed, this is the inherent dilemma of unionizing, right? Corporations will also always see unions as a constraint on their freedom to manage, whereas unions see themselves as protection for the corporation. When we look at when Pengerson was found, it was found in 1978 during the height of Nigeria's oil boom, where our oil industry was run by multinational companies. Their mandate and mission and vision is to protect the oil sector that brings us some of our greatest revenue. They sort of know what they are doing. To sack 800 workers, like you rightly said, Ria, that is unconstitutional and it's wrong. And to mandate them to join unions, you can't do that. It's not constitutional. But I will say that their job is to collectively bargain. Their job is to protect the rights of oil workers. Imagine the fallout of sacking 800 workers. Imagine the fallout on families, the fallout on communities. We are already struggling with our systems as it is. This is the last thing that Nigeria needs. But I will say this case and how Dangote Refineries chooses to handle this, it's going to set a wonderful precedent for how labor laws are put into place and how we see worker and union rights going forward in Nigeria. I'd love to see a wonderful consensus come into play for both parties. Yeah,
and Ibrahim, just to add something, whether we know it's a business, it's his business, like Thomas said, loans and all of that, but at the end of the day, even though you know that you have to sort all of that out, you cannot do that when you know that Nigerians will suffer. I'm just tired of there's a lot of confusion. Like I said, we started with Nupeng, now we're starting with this as well. Like, I think that he should follow the laws. These are rules and regulations that should be followed. So somebody wanted to jump.
There has to be a mediator, Etoma, because if you look at the Guardian newspaper saying that Nigeria risks 14.7 billion naira daily loss. Fuel crisis as Dangote Pengerson rift deepens. So we are only talking about 14.7 billion naira loss.
Yeah.
But there will always be ripple effects. Look at the SMEs. Look at some other people that actually depend on petrol. In fact, it's the mainstay. Shouldn't we begin to talk about diversifying our economy so much so that we won't have people sitting at one corner saying, yes, we make up 90% of revenue or GDP, whatever, to the economy.
Who wants to diversify when there is so much oil in the ground?
No, the thing is, if one thing is your mainstay, and then you see the shock in the price of oil, global oil price, and then the Euro-centric whatever, goes, catches cold or sneezes, Nigeria's economy goes into ICU. That shouldn't be what we should be facing.
Yes, it shouldn't be. And the 14.7 billion naira loss we're talking about is for a day. So it will be 14.7 on Monday, 14.7 on Tuesday. It is humongous. I don't think any economy in the world can take that for up to a month and is still standing strong. Now, talking about diversification, yes, you might want to say, who is making so much money out of oil and is not diversifying? But common sense says that for you to be comfortable as an individual, a corporate organization, or a country, you must have a minimum of 4 streams of income. Minimum of 4 streams of income. So if Nigeria has been dependent on oil for so long, we are not taking that advice. So diversification is the only sensible way to go. And we have so many other minerals. We have a resource called the Nigerian people that we have not used, optimally. Nigeria has no business depending on oil
just
as
oil.
Its mainstay.
As a comment, because I can remember Wole Soyinka said that the day Nigeria discovered oil was the day Nigeria was cursed. So we can see, what is happening. But then, shouldn't we? I think. Probably was it you or someone who already said, okay, now in the midst of this, we have the federal government. Underneath is the grass, which is the human, those of us, that will be bearing the brunt, directly. Why do you think it's taking very long or difficult for the federal government to mediate to ensure that they rein in both these belligerent or bellicose
but
parties?
the thing is that they did that with Nupeng, so we're waiting to see what happens now. But when we talk about diversifying, even we as human beings, I'm not just doing one thing. I'm doing different things because you cannot just live on one source of income. So I feel like Nigeria needs to look into that as well. But for now that we've not looked into that, because I'm a very practical person. For now that we depend solely on oil, why are we making it difficult for the common Nigerians? That is my question.
Right. Now, I just want to add, labor that is not organized is labor that is not effective. When we look at the Dangote refinery, it was touted as Nigeria's ticket out of fuel importation. And so to see that this is how they're treating their workers, to see that their labor is not organized, their labor therefore cannot be effective.
And Olamide, the other time Dangote was saying that, he pays his workers and everything. Like, we need to see, we hear a lot of things, but we are not seeing it happen. Right now, it looks like you're trying to force these people into things that they do not want to do. And it's a big problem.
There is more to what is happening than meets the eyes, actually. But we just want them to resolve this problem,
as fast as possible.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the Hope newspaper. Maybe we'll get some hope.
Nigeria, we need the hope
at 65. Tinubu Rekindling hope, say Eminent Nigerians. And I think it's actually stakeholders praise President Tinubu's economic reforms, urge sacrifice, patriotism. Labor leaders lament hardship, call for review. One of the speakers, at this occasion says that one thing about Nigeria is that there is this one united political and geographical entity, so much so that Nigeria is not dividing. But I do not know whether we can agree in total with this submission that we're not divided. Because if you look at since 2023, after the elections, it's as though Nigerians are more divided than we've ever been, coming about all of this. So what do you think we are doing better or not doing better at all, especially under this administration?
I think government is engaging the people more, and for me, that is a very big plus. The people are getting to know a little bit more about what government is doing in managing our resources and planning for our future. I will give kudos to the present administration for that. for somebody to say that there's nothing dividing Nigerians, that person must be a politician. That person must be a politician.
I think the person is actually an eminent broadcaster. You know,
an eminent broadcaster turned politician.
Yeah.
There's no way. I mean,
he
is a politician.
Right,
we have quite a number of things that threaten to divide us, but we're still together as a country, and that's commendable.
That's the problem, you know, since the colonial era, you know, where we have these artificial borders, not just outside of Africa, I mean, not just within Africa, but even within Nigeria. So much so that you see people that are asking for Anioma status saying that they are more of Igbo than saying that they are in Delta. So how do we instill this sense of patriotism among Nigerians, especially looking at the youth and what they do today?
And I don't want to agree that Nigeria is being divided. That's not what I want to stand on. I just want to stand on the fact that, yes, we've stabled the economy, but at the end of the day, we need to do better. We need to now grow the economy. And that's why a lot of people are saying that, oh, Nigeria 65, what are we celebrating? Because there is still hardship. And this is me saying this and not saying that, you know, the federal government has also done well in infrastructure and all of that. We talk about inflation day in, day out, but when does it get to affect the normal people? So that is what I'm talking about. Nigeria we're celebrating our birthday, of course, October 1st. We're happy, but we can do better as a country. That's all I'm saying. As a country, we can do better.
All right, Olamide, very quickly, let me jump onto the last paper, which is the Sport Live. I'll talk about Lawrence saying that Iwobi is underrated. Says Nigerian, one of the best EPL. So if you look at Iwobi, he's actually, you know, achieved a whole lot when it comes to from within Nigeria and outside Nigeria, saying that there's so much that this guy has done, especially one of the performances that he had over the weekend, the 3-1 victory over Brentford, where he both scored and provided an assist. So this is, he will be doing on one side. We have Alex Nwabali. I mean, we have Nwabali. We also have Iheanacho. You know, we also have Mikel.
Remember.
I love how Ibrahim has made me. I love how this morning you made me the authority of football. When I made it very clear. But I will say this
from the perspective of Nigerians doing well outside.
Yes, absolutely. It's very common indeed to see young African men sidelined in football. Unfortunately, with football is you're only as good as your last show. You have to keep on performing and keep on showing up. Nobody cares how many goals you scored last time. It's how many goals you scored this time. The people want to see. They want to see it's a goal.
Exactly.
And you have to stay
but the right goal.
And I'll just say something quickly. I really believe that Alex is underrated because he's a fantastic player. Sometimes we do not get to see the amazing things he does on the field. I think he deserves more accolade because I follow Alex a lot. Apart from him being a very fine footballer, he's a good footballer as well. I think people need to start appreciating him for the great work that he does.
Apart from you being a very fine,
he's good. He's good on the field.
You're also a very good, you know, on the field.
The other one is.
That's about it for the newspapers up for review today. We believe that we've done our best to update you as regards what the papers are reporting. Coming up on TVC Breakfast, tension rises as Dangote faces backlash